All right, everybody. Thanks so much for stopping by another live episode of Real Estate Titans, sponsored by Lion Bolt Media. I'm your host, Greg Fowler, traveling throughout the marketplace, interviewing the top real estate professionals in our field, essentially gathering insight, inspiration, really drives and motivates these top producers above and beyond everybody else and what I'd like to consider a real estate titan. Now, our very special guest and feature tonight, everybody, I'm super excited about this one from beautiful Los Angeles, California, Santiago Arana. Now, Santiago, it's an honor and a pleasure to have you on the show today, my friend. I cannot thank you enough.
Thank you so much, man. I appreciate it. I feel very, very happy, flattered, and grateful that you consider me to speak here. I love your show. I think that, the kind of individuals you're attracting here, the right kind of people. And that's why I felt compelled to jump in and be part of it.
Oh, gosh, Santiago, you're the best. The honor is mine, my friend, truly, truly. But I do want to jump into the series of questions. I can't wait for everybody out there who's watching and listening to really just get to know you as a man, as a professional, and really why you do what you do and the moving parts associated. So if you're all right with that, let's just jump into the first question, telling everybody a little bit about
do it. Let's do it. Yeah. So my name is Santiago Arana. I'm 40 years old. I'm originally from Bolivia. I moved to the United States in 2003 in May to learn English after I graduated from college. I had a scholarship that I won in finance after I studied business and marketing, and it was only offered in English, and so I decided to come and learn English here because I didn't speak a word in 2003.
Wow.
And I felt like by being there's nothing more than being by immersion, right? If I'm here and everybody speaks English, it's probably the right way to learn it, as opposed to going to classes in Bolivia and getting out and talking to my family and my buddies in Spanish, and probably would take a little longer. So I had an aunt invite me to come and stay at her couch for 8 months, and I took advantage of that opportunity. So I grabbed my savings, which was worth $120 at the time, and moved with my back and got my aunt's couch. Very quickly ran out of that money and got a job as a busboy because I couldn't communicate yet.
Sure.
And I started to go to an adult education to do the program ESL, English as a Second Language.
Wow.
So I did that for about 4 months, and I picked up the language, and I went to my manager at that restaurant at the time in Montecito. I remember I was actually in Santa Barbara this weekend. It's a very special place for me because at that restaurant, and I'll do a post a little later, you see in my Instagram, of the restaurant where I started. But I got my first job from this Brazilian guy who was the general manager for 20 years.
Wow.
And now he, for a year and a half to 2 years, he's been working for me. Actually, he quit the place and moved to LA and got his real estate license and came to work for me. So we went full circle. So I went to the restaurant last night with my wife and my kids. And I was telling my kids who are 10 and 12-year-old that they know that's the place, but now they're getting older, they get to understand more. How was the experience to come and work in that place, no understanding anything, being in the middle of Montecito, all this luxurious lifestyle that you get in there, the people that were coming, and then I had the opportunity to wait on Oprah, Brad Pitt, Kevin Costner. So it was like an amazing experience. And most important than all, I just got to actually sit last night at the same table where I waited on my wife's table. And that's how I met her. So we had dinner there last night, and it was a very special. Every time I go there, I get very emotional and remember, and how grateful I am for what I've gone through. So we were there last night at that restaurant called Cava, and just kind of talking to the kids and how we are and where we are right now, and how grateful we are for what we have achieved in the last 17 years that since that moment happened, So that's where everything started. Met my wife. She was living in LA, and we obviously fell in love, and I was coming and visit, and at a point in time I decided to move down to LA because of her. Wow. And when I moved down here, I decided that waiting tables was not going to be the thing, and it was great to collect cash to survive, but not what I wanted to do eventually. I wanted to do something of what I'm passionate about, which is business, marketing, all that kind of stuff. So I got my real estate license. I started in 2004, and I continued to wait tables as I was doing real estate in the beginning, because obviously I didn't know anyone other than my wife in LA. I didn't have any relatives, any roommates, any high school friends, or anything from college or nothing. So I had to start from scratch, right? So, and it takes time. It took me about 4 years to start really to make decent money where I could actually quit the restaurant. So I was working double shifts, daytime real estate and then restaurant at night, and just work hard. And then at that point in time, I got to the place where I could just sustain by doing real estate. Few sales started to happen, and that's how I started.
Oh my gosh, Santiago. And again, what a beautiful progression in your story from, from the very beginning all the way to where you left off there. I want to back up just a little bit.
Sure.
What was your thought process originally going into real estate in the first place? Why? I mean, there's so many different ventures and opportunities. Why real estate? What originally attracted it to you, essentially?
Yeah. So what happens is, while I was living in Santa Barbara, my aunt had a son, my cousin,
Hmm.
who was doing loans at the time. So we're talking
Okay.
about 2003, when the loan business was booming,
Hmm.
all the mortgage business. So I remember sometimes that we would go out at night. He'll take me around, and then we wake up the next day, and he'll sit in his computer for a couple hours,
Hmm.
close a couple loans or something, make $10,000, $15,000, and then he'll go surfing all day. I was like, "What do you do?"
Right.
He's like, "I want to do that."
Yeah.
So he said, "This is what I do." He explained to me the mortgage business, and I said, "Well, should I get my license for this? How do you do it?" He's like, "Yeah, you get a license. It's the same license that you get for real estate, and
Mm.
I think you'll do a lot better than real estate because it's kind of tedious, and if you're more personable, you'll do great with people. And now that you speak sort of English and
Right.
Spanish, you can cover two markets. So that
Good
caught my
man.
attention, and I can just hear that, put in the back of my mind. I didn't really know what real estate was. It wasn't
Mm.
something that, growing up in Bolivia is as prestigious, or you can make the kind of living you can make in cities like Los Angeles, New York, on the high places.
Hmm.
So it wasn't really in my radar. I studied business administration, and I did a major on marketing, and that's where my passion was. And I wanted to do the master degree on finance to have a whole full business, preparation to go back to Bolivia eventually and, get a
Wow.
better job. Now I have the master degree. Now I speak English. So
Mm.
that was the plan that changed when I met my wife, right? So then I
Wow.
didn't want to go back anymore. I didn't
Mm.
care for the finance a master degree. And at that point when I started thinking, okay, so but I need to think about what I want to do as a for living and what's that I enjoy doing. So I started to drop off resumes in different companies that
Mm.
will have relationship with what my major was. And as I was getting offers for jobs, and they were like really exciting to me.
Mm.
I was making more money by waiting tables in cash.
Sure.
And there were two things that I looked, and I always look at things of what's the
Mhm.
maximum potential. So one of the things
Sure.
I looked like, okay, they're offering me this, and I don't mind starting from the bottom,
Mhm.
but I want to know how far I can grow, right? So if you start this company, even though I'm making less than waiting tables, but I have a future and I have health insurance. So I
Right.
analyze all those things. And what I was looking is like, if I'm here for 10 years, 15 years, who is the highest person in this company and how much money they make and how
Right.
long is that trajectory take you to get there?
Mm.
And it was like, you need to work 10 years to get to 250 to $300,000 at the time. We're talking about 15, 16 years ago, right?
Right.
So then I was thinking, I was like, yeah, I don't think so. And then I went back to the real estate thing,
Hmm.
and I started doing research, and I said, okay, so who are the top agents and how much money these guys make, right? So
Okay.
then I went and I started looking at people that at the time were making $1 million, $800,000. I'm like, wow. So this is really sky is the limit, and how
Sure.
this operates. And I started, so then I went and got my license,
Mm.
and I basically started. So that was a thought process. I mean, real estate wasn't
Wow.
something that
Mm.
came into my life. I didn't even know about it until basically I got put in that place.
Right. And I love that because you really thought about it and you dissected it from, start to finish and had a lot of thought process going in and making that decision, which I love. You didn't just fall into it. It was very intentional. And then again, back from there to today, what was your life like in progression through your career, and how did you get involved with the agency and that sort of thing?
So when I got my license, I started in Keller Williams. 'Cause my wife was flying to visit her family, her sister in Texas, and he sat next to a guy that was working at Keller Williams, and he was
Mm.
reading, Gary Keller's famous book.
Sure.
And so they started talking, and then he gave the business card to my wife, and then I called him because she told him that my husband is getting a license.
Mm.
And I end up calling the guy, and Keller Williams had this whole team leader situation, and you bring people, then you get a little bit of each person. They have this kind of residual pyramid kind of thing.
Sure.
So the guy was really nice, helped me out, introduced me. He asked me where I live, and at the time I was living close to Beverly Hills, so he
Mhm.
introduced me to the team manager of the Beverly Hills office. I met with him, really nice. So I started there. I started in Keller Williams.
Wow.
I was there for about a year, and again, it was very tough, because I mean, that whole year I didn't sell anything, like
Sure.
nothing.
Wow.
And one day, I got one of the waiters that used to work with me in a restaurant from Australia, actually.
Hmm.
talked to me, and he said, hey, I heard that you also do real estate and this and that. I think we're moving with my wife back to Australia, and I bought a condo that I want to sell. Can I show it to you? I was like, sure. So that was my first deal.
Wow.
It was a $450,000 condo in West Hollywood that I ended up listing it and selling it, and that was my first sale.
Wow.
And then I got really frustrated because really nothing was happening. I wasn't selling. So I was very frustrated. I was door knocking, and I was doing everything that, you're supposed to do, but I was doing everything that you're supposed to do when you start real estate, which, there's a number of different tools that you have, right? Door knocking, cold calling, expired listings. You can reach out to the expired list. There's a number of things that you can do.
Right.
And I chose to do the door knocking because obviously I didn't really still speak very good English. So to get on the phone and have a conversation, I was not going to be successful, but being in person or sitting open houses or door knocking was a lot better for me.
Okay.
So in my frustration, I start, and this is where I'm a very strong believer of the thought process of whatever it is that you think, it becomes reality. That if you want to create your future, you want to create your reality, it needs to come through a thought process first. You need to think about it. You need to see it in your head, and you need to feel that you actually going to have it. That's when the creation of that future starts happening. So I had to think. I was like, there's gotta be someone that has come from South America. I'm not even gonna be too specific from Bolivia, but it's gotta be someone that's come from South America that has gone through this, that has made it. It's have to be someone. I'm just gonna put that out to the universe.
Right.
And one day I got introduced from one agent to another agent, and that other agent, I went to ask him for advice. We took a walk around the block. He was like, I'll have 10 minutes and, happy to answer questions in those 10 minutes. I was like, great, no problem. So we went around the block in Beverly Hills. And as we're talking, he asked me where you're from. And he's like, oh, you should look up this guy, Rodrigo Iglesias, I remember. And he said, he's from Argentina. I think he moved here for $400, and he's the king of real estate right now. He's like at the top of the game. So I started researching. I'm like, oh, wow, this guy is freaking great. I mean, he's got all these big listings. He's a successful agent, certainly, right? So I reached out to him via email, never heard back. Then I called a few times. I left messages with assistants, and I kind of get now, because I get a lot of people and a lot of students are graduating, or a lot of people, they want to come and want me to mentor them, and they want to come and work for me and all this stuff. And it's really complicated because you can't really answer to everyone. And that's what motivated to start doing these talks and all these seminars, because I can reach out to a lot more people. Because, I can't sit for a cup of coffee with everybody that emails me, as much as I would love to, because I like to help, but it's just not doable.
Wow.
So I get it, why it's hard to get a hold of him. So finally we end up getting a hold of he called me, I remember one day. And this is when I believe that in life, you get put into places where you need to make decisions, right? And you shape your destiny, you shape your future by the decisions you make. Agreed. Good decisions, bad decisions. There's a point in life where you make a decision. Is it this way or that way? So number one, going the right way is really hard. So that's why most people take the easy way, and that's not the right path. Right. If your life is easy right now, it will be hard down the road. If your life is hard right now, it will be easier down the road, right? I heard that from someone. I can't remember who.
I love that.
So you make decisions, and then you kind of shape your path. So I was driving to the restaurant. I get a call 3 months after my last outreach to this guy, and they say, you wanted to talk to Mr. Iglesias? He can meet you in half an hour. I'm like, whoa. I'm literally able to make a left to the restaurant I was working, and I'm like, this is one of those opportunities. So I called the restaurant. I'm like, I lie. I'm like, so sick. I can't make it. I'm so sorry. I cannot make it. So I drive all the way to meet this guy. I sit in the restaurant he told me he was going to meet, and he doesn't show up. And, this is also important to mention, because life does that to you. These kind of things happen. There are tests. Like that day I was upset. I was disappointed. Oh my God, I didn't go to the restaurant. I'm risking my job for meeting this guy. He doesn't even meet me. Wow. And you can start spinning into a dark place. But, it's like, whatever, it is what it is.
Sure.
At least I try. I mean, I'm sure something happened that makes sense. And all of a sudden I get a call as I'm leaving. And he's like, I'm so sorry, Santiago. This is Rodrigo Iglesias. I'm not going to lie to you. I forgot.
Wow.
And at the moment I was like, how can you forget that we talked to assistant 30 minutes ago? But then once I got to know the guy, I was like, okay, I get it now. You know, he was like that. He's an amazing guy, huge heart. I'm always going to be grateful for have met him and all the things that he's done for me.
Wow.
But he was a scatterbrain. Like, he will forget. I mean, he will lose a pair of sunglasses every week. You know, he'll go and pull gas, leave his sunglasses on top of his roof of his car, and take off and buy sunglasses, you know. So then I got to understand why he forgot. And he was honest, you know. He told me the truth. So he said, let me make it up to you. I'll meet you tomorrow. I'll buy you lunch. I said, great. So we met, and he started by saying, you know, look, I don't need assistance. I don't want any more people on my team. I'm good. And I said, look, I'm from Bolivia. You're from Argentina. I speak Spanish. We start speaking Spanish. And I'm like, all I need is advice. Just advice. I'm not asking for money, job, anything. Just give me a little few tips. So he says, okay, I can do that. So he starts telling me what's going on, what you doing? And I go, I'm door knocking and nobody's opening the door. They're slamming door in my face. I'm sitting open houses and nobody's talking to me. And I'm doing this and I'm doing that. And I'm like very frustrated, and he can feel my emotions. And he gets up and says, hold on a second. And I'm like, oh, shoot, I pissed off the guy.
Oh, no.
So he goes and brings a book, and he looks at me and he said, read this book. And when you're done reading this book, call me back. We'll meet again and let's see what we do from that point. I was like, okay. So he gives me this book. It's called The Science of Getting Rich.
Wow.
And what I take from that book mainly as a short, I mean, I've taken a lot of stuff. It's an amazing book. It was written by Waddles D. Waddles in, you know, late 1800s. So it's one of those books like Think and Grow Rich by Napoleon Hill. You know, in those times, you know, in the times of depression and recessions is when the biggest leaders, the biggest thinkers, the best positive things come out of bad places, right? So right before the Big Depression, I mean, a lot of these big writers and big people, you know, came out in history. And that's when these great books were written. So I read the book, Think and Grow Rich. But the takeaway, that's just a simple thing to keep it simple right now, is not what you do, is how you do. So what he was telling me basically is you need to change your attitude. I was with this attitude that nothing is working. So the universe was picking up, this stuff doesn't work.
I see.
So there was more no working stuff coming my way. So when I got that, I started to get really deep into, at the moment, my wife gave me the DVD, The Secret. It just came out. So I watched that movie too. And I remember understanding for first time those concepts, the concepts of that, you know, your mind really is capable of, you know, creating and manifesting anything you believe in. So I remember watching The Secret and I started to cry. And I mean, I'm 24 years old here, and I'm seeing this stuff and I'm saying, why no one told me this stuff before? How is it that no one told me this? Is so amazing, so important, you know? I mean, it's actually, I believe, more important if they will give you in high school one of these books in replacement of a lot of stuff that they teach you that you never use.
Agreed.
But that's a whole different conversation.
Yeah.
So I read the book, I got it, and I called him, and I'm ready. I met with him, and he saw the change. So he said, look, now start doing the things you were doing with this new attitude. Set up that. So when you go and you feel that way and you knock on that door, people, they're going to open the door. They're not going to feel your negative energy. They're going to feel this positive energy, and this, you know, it's almost like a magnetic field that you come up with.
Wow.
So I started doing that. I said, I get a call from a guy. He's like, I have a house for 1.7 million that I possibly want to sell. And I got your letter. Let's meet. So I call Rodrigo and I'm like, hey, this is a big call, 1.7 million. I don't feel good going about myself. The only thing, I sold one thing for $450,000. Will you come with me and split it? And he's like, for sure. So we went, we got the listing, we split it 50-50. And I was working at Keller Williams. He was working at Sotheby's at the time. And then I started to get calls. I got a call for a $5 million property. And then I got another call, and I always call him to come and help me because we got along really well.
Right.
And he was really truly my first mentor in this business. And one day he said, why don't you just come and work at Sotheby's? It's better if we're in the same company. So I moved to Sotheby's, and I was in Sotheby's for a few years. Okay. We ended up becoming partners. And then, you know, after a few years, we decided to kind of go on our own. Sure. In a friendly way and everything. Right. And that kind of went on my own. That wasn't when the crisis hit, you know, there seems to be changes and decisions to be made. And when there's times like that, you know, so in 2008, when the financial crisis, when the crash happened, things got a little rough again. And I remember, you know, going through a time where I was even considering going back to wait tables partially because I was running out of my savings. Yeah. And there was a moment I remember when I was actually about to drop an application in Venice for a restaurant, because at this point now I had a newborn and a 2-year-old, and you know, I was running out of my savings. Yeah. So I needed to take care of my family. So I remember parking, filling out the application, and I was about to walk and open the door of my car. to drop it off, and something inside me, it was like my real self, the Santiago came out and said, what the hell are you doing? I mean, you came so far. If you're gonna fall forward, don't fall backwards, you know? So
Yeah.
I was like, you know, I even get chills right now just
Oh,
think
love
about
it.
that moment, because I think they're defining moments in your life when you go through that, when you really get to know your higher self, you know, so at that moment I said, you know what, screw this, got in my car, drove to my favorite neighborhood at the time, which was Brentwood Park, and I went door knocking for like 3 hours.
Wow.
And that energy, that change, that decision, because when you make a decision, but not like, oh, I'm gonna go and get an ice cream, when you make
Right.
a real decision that comes from within and it's strong and you believe it, and it's like almost like the universe gets out of your way and says, I got it, you made your mind, no one's gonna stop you, so I'm actually gonna help you.
Yeah.
Right.
Yeah.
I started to get phone calls, and I was sitting open houses for other agents in my office because I didn't have listings at the time. And I was sitting open houses Saturday. And you know, one of the things, like, just work hard. I was working every day. I was working Saturdays. I was working Sundays.
Wow.
And I started to build my career that way, you know. You asked me how the agency. So
Yeah.
as I was doing that, obviously, as 2012 came back and the market started to come out of the deep and start to go up, because I hustle and I work so hard in the lower time, what happens is people were seeing my signs and my name when no one else, or very few, were sitting open houses and doing this. So people saw me hustling and working so hard in the times, that when the times came, what all they could think is like, oh my God, that guy Santiago was selling when the times were bad. Let's definitely call him. And
Wow.
in 2012, it was like my phone started to ring and my business just took off big time.
I love it.
So when that happens was about the time where, you know, I remember Billy, Rose, and Mauricio, who are now my partners, were starting the agency, and they called me and they said they wanted me to join. And I just moved from Sotheby's to a boutique company that doesn't even exist anymore.
Okay.
And I wasn't thrilled, but I just moved, and I really liked the agency ideas, but I just made a move, and I didn't want to get to explaining to all my clients again that I was moving again in such a
Right.
short period of time. It just shows instability. So I told them, I said, look, guys, I wish you good luck. I mean, I'm going to watch what you guys doing. Give me some time. If when I'm ready, I'll give you a call. Sure enough, 8 months later, I see that everything they're doing is what I wanted. And,
Wow.
and they're just, I really enjoying the way how they're growing in the company. So I called them, we set up a meeting, we sat down, and, you know, I have a very strong presence west of the 405 freeway, which will be the neighborhoods of Brentwood, Pacific Palisades, Santa Monica, Malibu, closer to the coast. And
Okay.
Billy and Mauricio, both of them, and the few agents they had in the beginning, were very strong east of that freeway, like Beverly Hills, Bel Air,
Okay.
Hollywood, all that area. So they needed that presence on the other side that I could bring to them. So
Perfect.
after, you know, a few conversations, you know, they say, well, what we need to do to get you in here. And I told them, look, I'm an entrepreneur, and, you know, if you would have told me come join us as an agent, that doesn't really get me excited to make a lateral move. But if you would have called me in the beginning that day and say, let's open this up together, that gets me excited, you know?
Right.
And I remember Mauricio looked at me and he said, well, we can still do that. And I was like, okay, how? It's like, we'll make a proposal. So he made a proposal, and, you know, obviously I became an equity partner, and
Yeah.
that was exciting enough to me, and we joined forces. And as much as the agency, you know, Billy told me the agency is going to be good if we don't do anything with you, and Santiago is going to be okay if we don't do anything, but if we actually join forces, we're going to be really good. And sure
Wow.
enough, I joined, and it just exploded, and we grew tremendously. And that's kind of how we started that agency.
But what an amazing story, and so much detail, Santiago, which I love, because the viewers and the listeners, they really just want to understand kind of the thought process. And again, when you made that decision, going from the agency, you know, to the boutique, you know, to the agency, I love the fact that your continual thought process rang through. You looked at it, hey, I'm not looking to make, you know, that move. I want to look at the long term. What's the long term growth, and in making these decisions, it's not just best for you and your family, but everybody that you serve in your communities and your clients. So I love the fact that you made that transition and you told us that story. I do want to shift gears into this to dive a little bit deeper into you as a man. And this second question is the why. I mean, Santiago, what gets you excited, motivated every day out of bed to do what you do to the level you do it at? What are your whys? What are your drivers?
I think it's life, I mean, you get high of life, I mean, uh, to be able to experience life at its fullest, these days you need to have some sort of success, right? I
Yeah,
mean, and I'm not saying you cannot be happy without having a success. I mean, everybody has different needs, but for
sure.
me, I have a level of ambition, and I have things that I want to do, places that I want to be, things that I want to buy, and places that I want to experience, traveling and all that, it requires some sort of, success to have money to be able to, buy art and enjoy art, take classes of something, travel the world, visit on places, all the things that get me excited. So
Mm-hmm.
for me, the big why is first of all, I think you need to live your life and feel that every day is a gift, and that you need to, take advantage of every day and be grateful. Start in a place of gratitude and enjoy every day as a gift, and find ways how to enjoy it and live every day like it's your last day.
Wow.
Yes, it's important to have goals. Yes, it's
Mm-hmm.
important to have a vision of where you want to be, who you want to become, and where you want to be, and that keeps me, focused on what direction I'm going. But
Mm-hmm.
the big why really, and I got to learn this later in my life because, again, I started to read these books and I started to go a little bit more deep into the spiritual portion of it.
Sure.
And I finally got to understand that and it's not easy, it's constant work, but you got to wake up every morning, be grateful that you have an extra day in here to experience life through this human body.
I think that's beautiful. And again, it's just showing that attitude of gratitude and furthering your conversation to what you've been saying so far is the mindset, having the proper mindset and really reaching for those goals. And not just having those goals, but putting the work. And you had mentioned that too, hard work and
Yep.
consistency and putting in the time. I mean, you wouldn't be the man today you are without putting all that in and learning from others and really growing and pushing yourself past those said boundaries that others might restrict themselves with. So Santiago, I love that. And that's really inspirational, and diving a little bit deeper into you, which I absolutely love. Now, you had already mentioned a few things inside here, which kind of took your business up. But this third question is actually one of the crowd pleasers, and everybody tunes in to learn from the Titans. Very similar to the mentor-mentee sort of scenario is, like you said, you would love to be able to sit with every person who reaches out to you and give that advice. But this is a great opportunity, to reach across for thousands into this opportunity.
Love it.
So if there's any advice that you would give, or if you could look back at your career thus far and pick or choose a few things that you did or added or implemented that took it from one level to the next, what's that look like for you? What advice would you give?
I mean, look, I'm going to answer your question in two ways.
Yeah.
One is I'm a believer that, I got to ask it the question where if you could go back and meet younger Santiago, what would you tell him, right?
Yeah. Yeah. Sure.
And in one hand, yes, there's a lot of things that I would have loved to say, but on the other hand, you are not ready to make a change, or you're not ready to take action on something until you're ready. So, I mean, sometimes
Mm-hmm.
you read a book and you don't get it because you weren't ready. Sometimes if you wouldn't been presented an opportunity, or I would have met this guy, Rodrigo, I would have read that book a year, 2 years before, it wouldn't have that impact in my life. So I just believe that everything happened for a reason at the right time. So for that
Well
reason,
said.
going back and trying to tell myself, and this is just my opinion, by the way, I
Yeah.
could be
Yeah. Yeah.
wrong, but this is the
No,
way
no,
I
I love
feel,
it.
that I wouldn't change a thing. I
Mm.
think that things happen in the way they need to happen for a reason, and I'm where I am right now because those were the timings that God put in my place. And they say
Wow.
the God delays are no God denials, and God timings are perfect, right? So I
Mm.
believe in that 100%.
Wow.
But if I can give advice to younger people and younger agents, or people that are starting in this business,
Sure.
like in any craft, in any career, the more you watch videos, the more you learn about. I mean, watching this new documentary series of Michael Jordan,
Mm-hmm.
looking at Kobe Bryant's, the what's it called, Kobe's Muse, I think it's called,
Okay.
this TV, he did a TV recording of Kobe Bryant's Muse, I think it is. It's
Okay.
amazing about how his mentality and all these guys, and it's good also always give the athlete example, but there's
Mm.
like, you can analyze business people, and everybody looks at somebody's success, and those people, they get the success and the recognition and being rewarded at that moment for all the massive amount of work they've done that nobody's seen. So
Well
everybody's
said.
seeing the success when they're being rewarded,
Mm-hmm.
but people never seen what they had to go through it to arrive to that point. So
Right.
any one of these athletes, entrepreneurs, business people, Steve Jobs, I mean, you name it, if you really look into deeper, they all were incredible, massive amount of work. They put tons of work. The work ethic was what got into that place. And they all were like, they were the hardest workers. I mean, Kobe was the guy that was first in the gym and last in the gym.
Wow.
I mean, if you look the work ethic, I mean, that's a big piece of advice I can give. Just put the work. Now, my experience is not just work, it's work doing things in a certain way. Because what this book, The Science of Getting Rich, explains is you can be an ice cream selling ice cream, and right next door there can be another person selling ice cream. You can have the same ingredients and everything. Why is it the one's more successful than the other one? It's all in the attitude. You go to one place, they sell you the ice cream, thank you, bye-bye. You go to the other place, the guy greets you. Everything counts, right? So I remember when I was going to my open house, I was like, bring a candle. I want people to smell good when they walk in the property. Being a little speaker, because, you know, at the time, not everybody had a sound system in their house. So bring a little speaker, bring a candle, big cookies, bring water, put some music. So when people walk from one open house to another one, they're going to feel that energy. You're going to be friendly. You smells good. You activate the senses. You approach people with a different attitude. So it's everything that you do, you need to do it in that certain way, which is the right attitude, excuse me. So that would be my piece of advice. Is like work really hard, but while you work, if you're gonna go and sit on a Sunday 3 hours in an open house, there's two ways to sit in an open house. You can sit in there, get in your phone, get in your Instagram, and spend 3 hours there. And when people walk in, it's like, hey, how are you? Let me know any questions. Or there's the way where you sitting an open house with the attitude, I'm gonna pick up a buyer or two, and I'm gonna sell this house today. And when you go that attitude, you greet people, you look at them in the eyes, you give them your card, you introduce yourself, and however you want to talk to them, more aggressive, less aggressive, I think you feel that's personal. That will make the difference on whether you're gonna be successful or not.
Wow. I mean, but Santiago, what you'd said there is beautiful advice and information for whether you're new or seasoned in this profession, and really understand that it's that work ethic and work velocity and consistency, but then that attitude, that mindset. I mean, I love everything that you're saying and so much more. And again, if anybody's watching or listening to this is resonating with you, just please follow Santiago on, Instagram. Take a look at him in his YouTube. I would love to mention your YouTube channel, Santiago, if you wouldn't mind. So for the listeners or the viewers right now,
sure.
What's a good way for them to kind of engage with your content on YouTube, and where can they find you, that sort of thing?
Yeah, so Instagram is my main to-go place. So any seminars that I do, any podcast that I do, any speaking event, I announce it and I put all the information on my Instagram account, which is basically my name, Santiago Arana.
Perfect.
That's where I announce all the things that I do. Also, I started to create it, and I just is new a YouTube channel, and I did it because I started a webinar through once we hit the pandemic. I felt that people were really negative, and we were all, including watching the news, and bombarded with all this information that gets you in a really bad place. So I created this webinar with the premise of, okay, so let's how we navigate through this storm. Okay. Right. And I think the best way to navigate through the storms is let's think about what we control and we don't control. And you can go on my YouTube channel. Is my name is Santiago Arana Official. Now I was telling you this issue. I have two accounts that they're both Santiago Arana Official, but one has a picture of me with a leather jacket. That's the good one. So the one with the picture with the leather jacket is the one you want to look at.
Perfect.
And I have uploaded all these webinars that I've done. I think 11 episodes. Tomorrow I'm doing my last one at 10 o'clock in the morning Pacific time. It's going to be live on Instagram.
Love it.
And what we did to these 10, 11 sessions or chapters was talk about, okay, let's think about for a second. We're going through this pandemic. It's scary. And if you wake up and turn on the TV and you're bombarded by all that information, you're going to get depressed, you know?
Right.
So how can we navigate through this without getting depressed? Okay, so let's think about, can we control the virus? Nope. Can we control the economy? Nope. Can you control any of these things that are out there happening right now? No. But so then why are you focusing on that? Why it's good to be informed, but why are you spending so much time here? Now let's think about what you can focus on and what you can control. Can you control what you think? Yes, you can control what you want to think about. Therefore, by controlling what you think about, is that going to help you control the way you feel? Yes, of course. Thoughts become feelings. And if you emotionalize thoughts, that's what you start creating your new reality. So if you keep thinking on what has happened and how bad it is, you're going to create more of that. But you stop that and you start thinking about where you want to be in the future, and you start thinking and emotionalizing. And I give a lot of exercises of visualization, meditation, all the things they've done that work for me, by the way.
Sure.
Everything that I share is what's worked with me. Doesn't mean it's going to work for all of you. Doesn't mean that that's the answer of all the things. I'm just sharing my own experience, and hopefully someone grabs something that's good and makes it work for their own experiences and their lives. But that's basically what I've been doing with my YouTube channel.
Okay. I love that. And everybody out there, again, the content is just absolutely incredible. And I will have the proper links in the comments down below, so you can go straight to Santiago's, official YouTube channel and not get confused. And then Instagram accounts, all those things too, Santiago. So again, I do want to shift gears. Now, this changes the tone of the interview and the series in here. And it's actually the tricky part. It's the challenge question.
Okay.
So I lead into it with every Titan this way. We all have challenges. We all have struggles, whether it's personal or professional. No matter who we are, it just happens. Whether it's in the past, we're dealing with challenge or struggle now, or we haven't quite yet. But it's not so much what happens, but more to your further point, it's what we can learn from it, how we can grow, and what we can share with others. So Santiago, if there's a challenge that you dealt with personally or professionally that you overcame, that you learned from and became stronger because of it, what's that look like for you?
Yeah, of course. I mean, I believe in that 100%. And it's not that we don't have challenges. I have challenges every day. It's not like I got to a point in my life where now it's all paved to the end and all have to do is just right?
Yeah.
Every day we have challenges, and it can be simple challenges from like, or you go out and you get a parking ticket or you get a speeding ticket, right? So what you do with that ticket? You bring the ticket, right? And you put it in your desk and you're upset about it and you think about it. Oh, if I would have left my house half an hour earlier or 5 minutes, if I wouldn't make that turn, all that's worthless.
It's crazy.
So what's that gonna do? The situation is there, and it's just a situation. What you make out of it is what makes the difference. So you can go to your office, which I do, pay it right away, gone, out of sight, out of mind, or you can have the ticket lingering in there for weeks. And every time you see it, get sick in the stomach and feel how bad it is, right?
Right.
So same thing with life. I mean, challenges, and that's a simple example, but that's how it kind of works. And just to go back to the story that I told you, because that was a very challenging time for me, right?
Sure,
I mean, the economy crashed. I think I had $1,500 in my bank account. I had a 2-year-old, I had a newborn. My wife had complications, really bad ones, with the second baby. So she was actually in the hospital, and I was all by myself trying to figure everything out. That was a very challenging time.
Yeah.
So that's when I put to the test my spirituality, hard work, and do everything. That was one of the biggest challenges in my life. But that was the time where I got introduced to the real Santiago. That's the time when I heard that voice that said, no, you're not going to go back to the restaurant. You're going to go here and you're going to make it happen no matter what. And I think when you make that strong decision, again, God, the universe, your bigger self, I mean, whatever you call it, that energy out there picks up on that, and it will make anything possible, will introduce you to the right person, to the right opportunities, to the right timings for you to get where you want to be, if you are truly made that decision 100% in your mind and you believe it.
Wow. I mean, but Santiago, thanks so much for sharing and reiterating that portion of the story, because I really want that to resonate home with the viewers and listeners. Is no matter what's happening in your life, you need to take this as an example to say, am I going to let this defeat me and beat me, or am I going to move forward? And you lived that message, Santiago. I mean, you had that thrown right in your face, and so many different things going in a negative direction, and you said, nope, I'm not listening to this. This is not happening. I'm going this way. And you did it. And again, to anybody out there who's watching or listening, here's a true story. Here's an inspiration. No matter what you're dealing with, go for it, move forward, overcome it, do what you can. And it's not a cakewalk. It's not all sunshine and rainbows. You just heard it from Santiago. Every day there's something, but every single day it's a thought process to move forward and be positive and make a difference and an impact and help others. And I love everything that you're saying here, Santiago. It's just absolutely incredible.
Thank you.
You had already kind of mentioned traveling back in time, and we're not going to go through that question, but I do want to go to a next question inside here. And this is the feeding of the mind portion. So everybody tunes in because they want to know how the Titans are feeding their minds with books that they're reading or have read, which you had mentioned a few great ones already. Maybe podcasts you're listening to, other influencers or mentors in your life. If you attend conferences or have masterminds, how are you feeding your mind?
Absolutely. I mean, big mentors, constantly. I think that, people forget that to grow any company, to grow any business, you need to invest into it, right? So what better investment than to yourself, right? And I always think about this, and I tell my agents I do seminars about books in the office too. And I said, think about that. You have a company and you are the CEO of that company. Would you hire yourself, or would you get rid of that CEO and hire someone else, right?
Wow.
And that gets him. It's like, oh, okay. So now when you wake up in the morning, and instead of waking up extra early and doing that extra job or extra phone calls, or to stay late and make those extra 10 emails, now you start asking yourself, oh, if I was the CEO and if I was the owner of the company and I have this person as a CEO, I would get rid of him.
Wow.
So once you start feeling like, you know what, I finished my work in the office, I did 100% today, everything that I could do. I didn't sell anything, it doesn't matter, but I did 100% of what I was supposed to do today. And you leave the office and you go and disconnect with your family at your house or your personal life, feeling good about yourself. That's how you want to end the days. And then also you want to wake up excited about it, right? I would jump out of bed super excited. I wake up at 4:10 in the morning because I can't wait to see what this day is going to bring, right? It's a gift.
Yeah.
So books, mentors, I mean, it's very important that you invest in yourself. You know, I go to very expensive seminars. I've done multiple of the Tony Robbins seminars, you know. I buy seminars online, I books and all this stuff because it's an investment. You investing in yourself to become a better version of yourself. If you want to be really the best, you need to learn, you know. I mean, you never stop learning. The moment you stop learning, you start dying.
Wow.
So Tony Robbins, I'll follow Dwayne Johnson, The Rock.
Yeah.
You know, I'm constantly reading and learning about self-improvement books. I've done the Think and Grow Rich by Napoleon Hill. I've done seminars. I actually teach a seminar once a year for 8 weeks in my office for all the agents at the agency about that. And I, by the way, uploaded all those classes into my YouTube channel for other people to have access, not only the ones that work at the agency. Books, I mean, amazing. Eckhart Tolle. I actually am in the middle of reading a book that a friend of mine recommended. It was like, I didn't think that was going to be inspirational, but it's an amazing inspirational book. It's the latest book that 50 Cent wrote.
Oh, no way.
I'm in the middle of it, and it's actually very, very inspiring. A very, very good book. I recommend to everybody. It's Curtis Jackson, Hustle Harder is the name of the book.
Oh, love it.
Hustle Harder, Hustle Smarter.
Okay.
So that's an incredible book. You know, Joe Dispenza is a super inspirational person, more from the spiritual point also, and more from the quantum physics on how to explain how these things from a, you know, doctor point of view, actually the thinking and all that works, how quantum physics explain that your thoughts and that you are 99.9% energy and then 0.00001 something else, right? So if you're 99.9 energy from like a piece of skin to, you know, going down all the way down to the atoms in the cells, well, might as well contain and try to put yourself constantly in a good vibration. That doesn't mean that you're gonna fall out of that. You know, there's days that I'm frustrated, there's days I'm fearful, there's days that I'm, you know, annoyed, there's days that I'm scared. All those things we feel, but if you can train yourself on getting out of that feel faster and stay yourself in the good vibration, that's what's going to help. So any book by Joe Dispenza, like Breaking the Habit of Being Yourself, is a great book. The Power of Now, Eckhart Tolle. The Untethered Soul by Michael Singer is a great book. And if you want to get motivated, I mean, one of the books that really got me motivated, and I listen a lot to audiobooks, it was Relentless. Relentless is a book, was written by Tim Grover. And Tim Grover is the guy that personal coach for Michael Jordan, Kobe Bryant, Dwayne Wade. So he explains how these incredible athletes' mindset is. There's a good book too. So there's a few.
Yeah, I mean, Santiago, that's a huge list of great content. And again, people that you're motivating and moving forward and great content for everybody to consume. So as always, everybody, I'll have links in the comments down below so you can feed your mind the same way that this man is, or at least attempt to, Santiago. But hey, at the end of the day, I can't thank you enough. It's been an honor and a pleasure. I do want to finish everything up with a final question. And this ends up being a quote or mantra that sums you up as a man, as a professional. What's that look like for Santiago Arana?
A quote, you know, again, as a big follower of Tony Robbins, I kind of resonate a lot with many of his quotes and things that he says, you know. The one that really sits strongly as number one and really helps me think is the quote that he says that life doesn't happen to you, life happens for you, and kind of connects everything that I told you. It's like, instead of saying, why did this happen to me? You know, what a bad luck. Why did this accident? Why did they fire me from my job? All those things that are happening that you think they're happening to you and how bad they are, they're actually things that are happening for you for a reason. That you got fired from that job because you were not going to grow in that job, and there's something better for you out there. You got that illness because that got you to be in a different place. It changed you from the inside, or got people closer to you. Anything and whatever happens to you, and as bad sometimes things are, and you know, I don't really have an answer why, you know, kids die or why terrible things happen in the world, because I don't. I wish I would. But if you look at the life with the attitude that the life is happening for you, actually, that is, these things are happening for you to realize that that wasn't good for you, that that person wasn't good for you, that that job wasn't good for you, and there is something else waiting for you, and you go about life with that attitude of expectancy and positive. You stop focusing on that door that closed, and you're going to be able to see the 100 windows that are open and other doors that are open. That's, I think, the best way to go about it.
I mean, Santiago, I think that rings through to everything that you said, to this particular interview and more. And again, that's speaking volumes about your character and integrity and in your work ethic. And I just find it to be extremely inspirational all the way through and through. And again, I can't thank you enough, my friend, for taking the time. It was an honor to have you on the show. You are an official real estate titan, so I do need to dub that. That is an official thing.
Awesome. Yeah.
You know, so this is a good thing. But thanks again, Santiago. It's an awesome pleasure. And again, through and through. And everybody out there, thank you so much, as always, for your love and attention, your time and support. If you like hear what they're doing with Real Estate Titans, please don't forget to like, comment. You know what to do at this point. I do have to give our sponsor a quick shout out, Lion Bolt Media. If you are a real estate professional looking to grow and scale your business digitally, generating massive amounts of attraction into your local markets and generating high value clients, take a look at lionboltmedia.com. We are live here at Real Estate Titans every Tuesday and Friday afternoon, a different Titan, a different location. We'll catch everybody in the next live episode of Real Estate Titans. Take care. Thanks, Santiago.
Thank you. Thanks again.